The rain fell in sheets that November evening, turning the Manhattan sidewalk into a river of neon reflections. Sarah Chen sat huddled beneath the awning of a closed bakery, her threadbare coat pulled tight against the cold. 3 years ago, she'd had an apartment, a job as a teacher, and dreams of changing the world one student at a time. Then came the medical bills after her mother's cancer diagnosis, the impossible choice between paying rent and paying for treatment, and finally, the slow descent into a life she never imagined living. Now, at 42 years old, she called the streets home, clutching everything she owned in 2 plastic bags. She noticed the wallet almost by accident. It lay there on the wet pavement just a few feet away, expensive leather gleaming under the streetlight. Sarah's hands trembled as she picked it up. Not from cold this time, but from the weight of possibility. Inside, she found crisp $100 bills, at least 20 of them. Maybe more. Her stomach clenched with hunger she'd been ignoring for 2 days. This money could mean hot meals, a motel room, clean clothes for job interviews. It could mean a chance. But there were also credit cards, a driver's license, and business cards embossed with gold lettering. The name read, Robert Mitchell, CEO of Mitchell Global Industries. Even someone living on the streets knew that name. Mitchell's face appeared on billboards across the city, in news articles about philanthropy and innovation. He was one of those billionaires who seemed untouchable, living in a world so far removed from hers it might as well be another planet. Sarah sat there for what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes, the wallet heavy in her hands. She thought about her mother, who'd passed away 18 months ago despite all Sarah's sacrifices. Her mother, who'd taught her that integrity wasn't something you could afford to lose, no matter how little else you had, that your character was the one thing poverty couldn't take from you unless you surrendered it willingly. With shaking fingers, Sarah pulled out one of the business cards and walked to a nearby hotel lobby. The doorman eyed her with suspicion, but she approached the desk clerk with as much dignity as she could muster. "Excuse me," she said quietly. "Could I please use your phone? It's an emergency. I found someone's wallet." The clerk, a young woman with kind eyes, hesitated only a moment before sliding the phone across the marble counter. Sarah dialed the number on the business card, half expecting an assistant or voicemail. Instead, a man's voice answered on the 3rd ring. "This is Robert Mitchell." "Mr. Mitchell," Sarah began, her voice cracking slightly. "My name is Sarah Chen. I found your wallet on 5th Avenue near 52nd Street. I wanted to return it to you." There was a pause. "You found my wallet?" "Yes, sir. Everything's still inside." Another pause, longer this time. "Where are you right now? I can send someone to pick it up." Sarah gave him the hotel's address. "I'll wait outside." "No," he said quickly. "It's pouring rain. Wait in the lobby. I'm only 10 minutes away. I'll come myself." When Robert Mitchell walked through those hotel doors 12 minutes later, flanked by an assistant holding an umbrella, Sarah almost didn't approach him. He looked exactly like his pictures, tall and commanding in an expensive suit, the kind of man who'd never had to worry about where his next meal would come from. But his eyes, when they found hers, held something unexpected. Curiosity, perhaps, or maybe just simple human acknowledgement. "Miss Chen?" he asked, walking directly to her. Sarah stood, suddenly aware of how she must look, her damp hair plastered to her face, her coat with its fraying hem. She held out the wallet. "Everything's inside, Mr. Mitchell. I didn't take anything." He took the wallet, opened it briefly to check, then looked at her with an expression she couldn't quite read. "You have no idea what this means. There are things in here that—" He trailed off, then seemed to really see her for the first time. His gaze took in her worn shoes, her plastic bags, the way she held herself with careful dignity despite circumstances that would have broken most people. "When did you last eat?" The question caught her off guard. "I'm fine." "That wasn't what I asked." Sarah's cheeks burned. 2 days ago. "But that's not why I called you. I just wanted to return your wallet." "I know," he said softly. "Come with me, please. Let me buy you dinner." "It's the least I can do." They sat in a quiet Italian restaurant 3 blocks away, an establishment where the maitre d' knew Mitchell by name and didn't bat an eye at Sarah's appearance. She ordered soup and bread, trying not to seem desperate, but Mitchell noticed when she finished and quietly ordered her more food. As she ate, she told him her story. not because he asked, but because something about his genuine attention made the words spill out. She told him about her years teaching middle school English, about discovering her students through books and poetry. She told him about her mother's diagnosis, the impossible medical costs, the choice she'd made to sacrifice everything. She told him about the foreclosure, the shelters, the nights on subway platforms. She didn't cry. She'd learned that tears were a luxury she couldn't afford. Robert listened without interrupting, and when she finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "You gave up everything for your mother," he finally said. "And tonight, when you found my wallet with enough money to get you off the streets for at least a little while, you gave it back without taking a single dollar. Why?" Sarah met his eyes steadily. "Because it wasn't mine, and because my mother taught me that who you are isn't determined by your circumstances. It's determined by the choices you make when everything is on the line." "What would you ask of me, Sarah?" Robert said suddenly. "Right now, if you could ask me for anything, what would it be?" This was it, Sarah realized. The moment where many people would ask for money, for a job, for a complete rescue from their situation. She thought about what she really wanted, what she'd wanted since the day she'd lost everything. Not just survival, but purpose. Not just a life, but a life that mattered. "I don't want charity," she said carefully. "But if you're offering something, I'd ask for a chance." "A real chance. I was a good teacher, Mr. Mitchell. I helped kids who thought they had no future see possibilities. I want to do that again. I want to work to earn my way back, to help other people the way I wish someone had helped me. If you could give me that chance, a path forward that I can walk on my own 2 feet, that's what I'd ask for." Robert stared at her, and something shifted in his expression. He pulled out his phone and made a call. "Jennifer, Robert Mitchell, I need you to do something first thing Monday morning." He looked at Sarah. "I'm creating a new position at Mitchell Global, director of our education outreach program. We're going to fund after-school programs in underserved communities across the city, staffed by teachers who understand what these kids are facing. I want you to head it, Sarah. Full salary, benefits, and an apartment in one of our company housing units until you're back on your feet." Sarah's heart hammered in her chest. "Mr. Mitchell, I can't just accept—" "You're not accepting charity," he interrupted. "I'm offering you a job that you're uniquely qualified for. Someone who'll fight for these programs the way you fought to return a wallet when taking the money would have been so much easier. Someone who knows what it means to lose everything and still choose integrity. That's who I need running this." Tears finally came rolling down Sarah's cheeks despite her best efforts. "Why are you doing this?" Robert's voice grew quiet, almost vulnerable. "In that wallet there was a photo of my daughter. She died 3 years ago. Car accident. She was a teacher too, just like you. Believed in the same things you're talking about. I've been trying to figure out how to honor her memory ever since." He paused, his own eyes glistening. "You could have taken the money and I never would have known who you were. But you chose differently. You reminded me that people like you and my daughter still exist in this world. Let me give you the same chance she never got to finish." 3 months later, Sarah stood in front of a classroom again, but this time in a community center in the Bronx, facing 30 kids who reminded her why she'd become a teacher in the first place. The Sarah Chen Education Initiative had already expanded to 5 locations across New York, with plans for 10 more. She had an apartment with heat and running water, food in her refrigerator, and work that filled her with purpose every single day. But more than that, she had proven something. She'd needed to prove to herself during those cold nights on the street. That kindness wasn't weakness. That integrity wasn't foolishness. That one small choice made in a moment of desperation could ripple outward in ways impossible to predict. She'd returned a wallet and found her life again. Not because of the money or the job, but because she'd chosen to be the person her mother raised her to be, even when no one was watching. And every time she looked at those students' faces lighting up with possibility, she thought about that rainy November evening and the simple truth that had changed everything. Sometimes the greatest wealth isn't what we keep, but what we choose to give back.